All right, go for it.
All right. Okay. So I think what I was touching on is just the main messages that come through always seem to be quite simple. Um, no matter who it comes from, where it comes from, you know when someone's speaking from a place of authenticity and truth. And look, I know I use that word truth respectfully and gently because it's so abstract and they get a lot of contention around that. But let's just say you know when someone's gentle, someone's embodying virtue, there's a honoring of one's sovereignty, and it comes through tone, it comes through the language, it comes through advice. You know when someone is being selfless, right? I think we have these common reading markers as humans. So I'm almost speaking to a lot of the people that are saying this is a lot of devil stuff and dark stuff. It's like, you know, when someone's in a state of love, right? And that's the characteristics that I pay attention to, whether it's worthy of honoring, worthy of holding on to, you know, in some kind of meaningful way to share. I'm always careful what I share, and how it impacts others. But you know, if you're seeing that someone's embodying these traits where they really care about you, they care about the client, they care about their sovereignty, they want relationships to be enhanced, they want a feeling of freedom to be embodied in this person's life, they want less fear, and you're hearing it come through their language, whether it's them, their higher self, a star seed family member, doesn't matter really where you place it. When they are speaking from this place which seems all knowing to some degree, it's simple, it's gentle, it's freeing, and it always leads to something where it's like, life is okay, everything is as it's meant to be, let go, stop taking things so seriously, it's not about you, which that was a bit abrupt when I had that one about 3 years ago. It's like you think everything is about you as people. You have because I was asking about free will, and you know, does free will exist? And this was someone that was in some galactic space, didn't really identify what or where, but it was like talking to me through my client, just saying that, yeah, you guys are taking things too seriously. And I was asking about free will, and the free will component was that, okay, yeah, you might have free will to the degree that you have infinite options within this world, and there's like thousand choices you can make, but you can't deviate from like your soul contract, let's say, or your dharma. And so you might have like a railroad system, maybe of options, and it might seem infinite, and that's what you wanted. You want to feel like you have infinite options to the point of overwhelm. But you don't deviate from that which is coded within you. Like you came for a reason that seems to come through all the time, no matter what religious background or philosophical background or spiritual background. People keep telling me that they chose this life when they enter this state of non-ego, that they chose this life, and that means there was some dharma, some railroad system that they had to get on with, and so there is slight variations within it, and it feels like free will, but at a higher dimensional intelligence of the self, it's
Yeah.
not free will. So that when we have those arguments or debates of free will in philosophy, um, it's almost like impossible because of the paradox, because of the different laws that exist at different dimensions. So at a human level, yeah, we have a lot of free will. I can choose to go where I want today, and I feel that free will and I feel that sovereignty. But at the same time, there is things that are out of my awareness and out of my logic, out of my ego that I don't really have a choice in terms of how I will eventually make the massive impacts in this world. It's like I came here to really feel what it's like to be someone for someone else. What's it like to really help someone else find truth or be a facilitator, maybe to be valuable in someone else's eyes, to help them find themselves. You know, and maybe my life is characterized by dressing up in different ways of that theme, but the theme doesn't really change, you know. And so there's something about the perfect wounding in childhood, the perfect parenting sort of dynamics, which is not perfect. You know, to eventually give you an egoic development, a certain mask that you'll put on for the world for survival. And then it's traumatic, it's hard, it's difficult. I mean, me in my position as a psychotherapist, you hear some of the worst catastrophic stories. But when they hit this point of seeing the whole thing from that intelligence that I just spoke about, there's often a humble knowingness that they chose this, you know? Um, and the interesting thing is that I don't bring them to that idea. I don't tell them to go there. I really try to stay as neutral as possible with my languaging and being curious and questioning things. And they sort of get to this moment where it's like, oh, yeah, like I chose this. And then it's like, okay, now things start dropping in. Why is that important? Whether it came from a starseed family, which it has, whether it's this higher self speaking from I chose this, or it's they chose this, it still leads to this idea of choosing for some reason. Why is that important to hear that message? Is because when you realize you've chosen this, it relinquishes the perpetrator, victim, rescuer drama
Yes.
of good and evil. And that's a social plane. It's a physical plane of truth, but it's not a transcendental truth. So where are you trying to play? Do you want to play in a transcendental truth, or do you want to play in a lower tier truth? Because you could be justified any day of the week that you are right that this person's a perpetrator and they did evil things to you and it's really bad and it's caused tremendous pain and suffering. True, but look at what that is justifying. It's justifying you holding a lot of anger, a lot of resentfulness, a lot of rejection of others. You're closed off your heart to opening yourself to connections, intimacy, and all because you've justifiably said that this person is evil. But at a transcendental level, what are you trying to do? Here on this earth, I want to see if I can go through darkness, a hero's journey of feeling like I'm going to die and see if I can still choose love anyway. Maybe see if I can transmute something dark into something light, something heavy into something light. Maybe if I do it well enough, my soul will grow. Maybe I'll learn something amazing, you know, and it'll be an adventure. It'll be an amazing adventure to do that, to make it really difficult. So that means you're seeking freedom. You're seeking to let things go. The soul's seeking to pick up something heavy and make it lighter, let it go. Something about, wow, I picked that thing up and I put it there. I made it lighter, you know. I made the world a little bit better, you know. Love was a little bit more apparent after I was there, you know. And so if it leads to the freedom of the soul, meaning more intimacy, more empathy, understanding that I am them, they are me, the perpetrator, the victim, it dissolves itself and we realize that we're all from the same place. It doesn't really matter. It was about an experience rather than you needing to justify a position of morality and good and evil. If you can transcend that moral scorecard, that behavioral scorecard, you're in the right place. That's why people can go through therapy for years, but until they get to forgiveness, then gratitude, you won't actually heal, I think, fully. You'll always have that stain in the heart, and so, or a little bit closed off. And so that's why when we get these messages to bring it full circle again, these messages, if it leads to forgiveness and gratitude for all those that have sort of been along your story, been along your journey, it leads to your freedom. It leads to more intimacy, more empathy, more connection with others. The shoulders drop, the body's a bit more relaxed, a more willingness to participate in this world rather than close off because everyone's going to hurt me and it's a bit scary. So there's a participation element that's more encouraged and a fearlessness about this life. And that seems to be honoring the sovereignty of the individual, which I think anyone listening that is always worried about the darkness or being tricked by these voices, which is common, Whitney. It's very common that people come to me thinking that this is trickery. There are evil spirits that are pretending to be nice, but that would mean it would have to lead to an eventual agenda where they take something from you. And maybe they say, well, they're so smart that you won't even know what they're taking from you. All that is just fear. You're exploring yourself, essentially. You're exploring yourself. Whether you go into a past life, where you go into a deep star system, or you go into yourself very quietly and deeply, it's just you. You go into your childhood, your memories, your ideas, the trauma. It's just you. You're just experiencing different versions of you. And so it's all you. You have every divine right to explore you. Where you go with it is entirely up to you, but you will see reflections of yourself that will scare you. So if you're meeting the devil, then there's something about you that is like needs to see that part and make sense of it, resolve it, understand it, appreciate it, learn about it, be less split about it. I'm good and that's bad. I am in the Jesus light and they're in the devil light, and the world is too split. It's like just pay attention to the outcomes of these messages and these experiences, that people's lives are being enriched. So if your experience with past life has led to more freedom, more of a courageous forthrightedness to this world, and a willingness to be more in love with something, then it's doing its job essentially. It doesn't matter how you got there. You got there essentially. And so always keeping in mind, no matter what modality, freedom, sovereignty, empathy, connection, unity, forgiveness. Like, if it leads to that, it doesn't matter how you get there. So I think that was pretty important to preface that before we get into any deeper messaging around that.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I do this podcast is there are so many tools and modalities out there that you can put in your tool belt to help you find freedom in this physical body, in this lifetime, in this experience, so you can get the most out of it. You can have the most fun possible. You can evolve, you can grow, you can experience. And so that's why I'm really into hypnotherapy and past life regression, because it's another tool. I think it's a blessing. People who have the ability to take us there, like that is a blessing that you have this and that you were gifted this. And I wanted to do this episode with you to share this as another available option to people who are trying to find freedom in their physical, emotional, spiritual, or mental body, right? And I found that dipping into past lives helped heal my physical pain in my digestive system, because I would always have pain in the same spot every night when I went to sleep. And if I put my hand over that spot, I could see different past lives, how I was killed and why that pain was coming up. And once I finally took the time to explore all those different past lives, it just lifted and went away. It was The whole process was kind of so much fun. I got to just learn more about myself and the different experiences I've had. And it helped me understand why I was so enthralled in this lifetime with different places on the planet, different books, different moments in history. And I think it's a fun experience, but it led to so much freedom for me. And I'm curious, have you had any clients that particularly booked sessions with you because they wanted to free themselves of physical pain or health issues? Or did that just naturally come up in the session?
Recently than ever, people are coming because of physical issues. Only I think that's because people are learning what's possible. But I don't advertise that I'm going to deal with your physical symptoms. I'm always very blank about what I'm advertising, where I don't even really say I'm gonna take you into past lives either. Um, all I know is that there is a absolute connection, the physical, the mind, the spirit, and if the spirit is connected to everything that is beyond our comprehension, then we just need some modality that allows you to experience that expansiveness, to find things. How you go about it doesn't really matter. But yes, clients have come with physical ailments saying, look, I just want to see if this works. I just want to see, because I won't make any promises. I'll never say that I'm going to deal with that, because I always leave the sovereignty of the mind. Like, I'll ask very generalized questions about direction to make sure it's not about me, and that they're going where they most intuitively are going. And they might think it's about this, but then it's something completely different that surprises both of us. And so I want to honor that randomness always. So I'm always very careful with my direction. And so, yeah, I think early on, what most surprised me, within my first year, let's just say a case, there was a lady in America. She she had just severe mental health issues, personality disorders, and I was just using hypnotherapy in a generalized way. Again, not promising any spiritual things, and I wasn't advertising anywhere. And yeah, she went very deeply connected to past lives. Now, it was bringing up parts of her body. It's what it randomly does, as if there's memories stored within the body, right? And it's like, cool, pay attention to her shoulder, pay attention to this. Now, she didn't tell me any of her body ailments, and it just sort of just starts bringing us to parts of the body, and cool, we just follow that. But here's the interesting thing. After she experienced a death, and then what these say life between lives, or a connection to some higher being that seems all knowing, in that space of love, when someone's most connected and they're almost crying in tears of love because of who they're experiencing or what they're experiencing, awesome. I know you're swimming in the chemistry that is most conducive for truth and love, and that's where I most love to take people. How you get there doesn't matter, but you're in this state of complete relinquishing the ego. You're emotionally connecting to joy and love, almost like a remembering of what it's like to connect at this level. And awesome. At that point, it has nothing to do with me, and I put my hands up. Now, in this moment, this particular lady in America, it was Virginia, she starts talking in third person again, saying that there's something in her breast she needs to look at. And so she goes into her left breast. I said, okay, just zoom in, just focus in on that left breast. Goes into, and then it gives it a color, black. Oh, it's black, and they start describing and might give it a texture. So I like to give it texture and color as well, even if they don't. And I can explain why in a second after this, why that's important. So yeah, and then she starts exploring that, and then the voice says she needs to get that checked, whatever that is, And so that was the messaging after. It was connected to something else, but they just said, get that checked, and it will resolve itself in time. Don't be alarmed, but it will move in the way it needs to move. So they always give these generalized, abstract things like that. That is something's not meant to be touched or healed on that day, and I'm okay with that. She goes and gets her scan, and finds breast cancer in herself. And so in that moment, I started to learn that in that state, you can learn about the body's physiology as well. It's not impossible, and it's not really that abstract. It's just weird for a society that hasn't honored that a human mind can explore the energetics of their own body to find something meaningful and true objectively. We've always just separated those two domains of the mind and body, and it takes a doctor or a microscope to analyze that and tell you what your body's doing. So we're trying to give sovereignty back to the individual by learning that we have the capacity, and we will fumble through that, Whitney. So we're not naive. It's like you will fumble through it, knowing it's like a child learning to walk for the first time. How I am supposed to read my body? How do I know what I'm making up? How do I know if this is legitimate? So we're shuffling around, playing with the ego, essentially, and wondering if I'm worthy, not worthy. It's not possible. I mean, all the conditioning. And so in hypnotic states, we're playing with the malleability of the conditioning and allowing ourselves to go past that. And then you see these magical moments where people can heal their own body if it's within that time. Otherwise, sometimes they say, no, this is not time to heal that. It's like there's still lessons or things that make this relevant that have to play themselves out. Cool. I had to learn that that's okay, because in the earlier days, I'm like, now let's get rid of all the dark. Let's get rid of all the bad stuff. No matter what. It's like, no, that's actually naive. That's like a cosmic ego, a spiritual ego, where everything's meant to be light. Everything's meant to be good. And it's like, no, we're meant to disrupt things. Sometimes your darkness or the thing within you is necessary to push back against some force that's pushing on your sovereignty. And so the darkness, I learned, isn't bad. It's just a human mind, the way we learn about what hurts my feelings and hurts them and makes me isolated from the group and punishable. These social hierarchies make us perceive good and evil, that dark is bad, light is good. But it's actually quite a primitive and childish analysis on energies. Like energies are balanced, yin and yang, right? We know that idea. And so that means It means you're going to hurt someone sometime, and maybe that's okay. Sounds pretty bad to say that. But I mean, if you were to speak your truth, Whitney, and one day, someone really just needs you to, let's say, Johnny asks you out in year 6, in grade 6, and you just speak your truth. He's been practicing his lines for weeks. That one day he's going to gain the courage to come up to you, Whitney, and he's going to ask you out. And then one day he gains enough courage, and he comes to school and he asks you out, and you're just like, oh no, I don't like you. Maybe you're a bit freaked out by that as well, because you had no feelings whatsoever to little Johnny here. Completely destroys Johnny. Now you've changed the trajectory of his whole life. Maybe he becomes resentful towards women. Maybe he has a chip on his shoulder. Maybe he becomes abusive. Maybe he now determines that I'm not worthy of a female. Who knows how someone individually interprets just an interaction. Now, you were not immoral. You were virtuous. You were virtuous by honesty. So honesty is a virtue that created darkness. So it's not just because your words and actions end in good feelings of another person that you are now acting in spirituality. No, it's like you are going to destroy things sometimes properly, and you're going to destroy people, and you're going to be the villain in their eyes. You have to be okay with that, because all the virtues together, some are going to be in conflict. Kindness. What does kindness look like? What does compassion look like to Johnny? What does honesty look like? What does truth look like? And the way you act that out would be a little bit different, but they're all virtues. So meaning they're all things of spirituality, more things of love. But it's going to lead to some pretty dark things. And so I think it's important to know that there is light and dark. And at a spiritual level, when you have these hypnotic moments and you speak to these entities or the higher consciousness, they will tell you, they will humble you into the same belief, the same ideas that there is darkness that is necessary in this person. It's like, okay, we don't need to touch that. All right, cool. So I'll move away from that. So yeah, that was a story of connection to the body there, where I realized it's possible to know what's going on in the body. And then, I think where I knew someone could heal their body through a past life connection was then when a psychic that we know in Perth sent her friend to me. And at that time, I was very early in my career, and I didn't really think I was worthy of doing something like that. Like, why is this well-known psychic sending her friend to me? Can't she just do some magic on her? And so I'm on the phone to this woman, the psychic, and she's asking if I could help her friend, and I'm like, you have like a waiting list of 3 months, and I don't understand. I'm only early in my career. She's like, your name was given to me, and you can go into past lives. Hers is too deep. It's too deep into masculine perpetration and energies. I can't reach it as her friend. And so you can do it though. I was like, I don't know about that, but yep, cool. So at this time, I was like very imposter syndrome. I don't really know what I'm doing, but she's saying so, and maybe I should honor that, but I feel like I'm a fraud, and not really worthy of taking on this person's friend. But I said, okay, I'll meet her. And so her friend comes, and she's been through every therapy under the sun, and she's sort of facing suicide, as she put it. And she doesn't know what's going on. She's had chronic pain in it was her back, like the top section of the left side of her spine. That wasn't really my focus, because I wasn't really there for the body stuff, just the mental stuff. But when we went and started going deeper and deeper and deeper, her subconscious took her to a past life in Germany. There was Bristol, England, one of them, 1792. And she was 18 years old, brought to a center pretty much as during the witch trials, and was pretty much hung in the middle. And the way this person was grabbing her, like, made her feel like she was a very light object, with no power. And so that affected her body as well in certain areas, that she was being grabbed by the hands of this man. Then there was another one, and then the final one was in Germany, 1885. And she's explaining living in this house with this very abusive German husband. And at some point, they're having a dispute in the kitchen. She's experiencing being stabbed. She gets stabbed in the back with a knife in the kitchen, and he puts her body, wraps it up, hides it from everyone, puts it under the house. So she's like being frustrated by this, saying, he's putting me under the house. He's putting me under the house. And she's saying, someone's coming. My friends are coming to the house asking where I am. And he's lying to them. So I'm watching her get frustrated and angry in sessions, saying, he's lying. He's lying to them, saying that I'm somewhere else, that I've left, but I'm under the house, and he's lying. And so again, there's frustration, there's a stagnant soul there, it's stuck there because it's traumatic, the density, so everything says to the spirit to remain because there's unresolved conflict. So traumatic deaths cause a mind of a person, which is the energetic signatures of their spirit, to remain and linger because of the density associated with those emotions and ideas. Higher vibration emotions release. Go ahead.
It's so interesting because I have noticed in this lifetime that characters come into my life where I have unresolved past life issues with them. Their presence and my interaction with them brings up in my body the past life that we had together. And then I have to go and work with someone to clear it in my physical body. So for me, I'm really holding a lot of different past lives. So I'll give you an example. I was dating somebody not long ago, and they decided that they no longer wanted to spend time with me. And that triggered a past life that we had together. I'd already seen many others, but it triggered one that I hadn't gone that deep with yet. And I was able to pull up the dates and time where we were, and basically what happened to me when he basically abandoned me in that lifetime. And I got locked up, thrown in a small room, and they put metal. They basically strapped me to a bed and threw me away. And every morning I was waking up and I was feeling the metal weights around my ankle of me being locked up. I could physically feel it, and it was really affecting my day-to-day ability to move around. The pain was the worst at nighttime. I was tossing and turning all night, feeling like there was metal straps around my ankles, cutting off my circulation. And so I had to do a few sessions with someone to remember that past life, really dive deep into all the layers and experiences I had. And suddenly, finally, one day, the straps fell off and I was free again.
So randomly.
Yeah, but I would have never had to dive into that past life the way I did if that person hadn't entered my life. So I've been finding it very interesting what a blessing it is that these different people, they come in and out. Maybe they're here in my life for 6 months, maybe they're here in my life for 2 years, and then they're gone and I never see them again. And the aftermath is this past life that they've reactivated within me. I have to relive it, learn the lesson, heal the physical body, and then I move on. It's very fascinating, and I'm sure this is happening to a lot of people on the planet right now, just because we're in a big transition time. That I'm sure a lot of people's old stuff is coming up.
Faster and faster, yeah. And it's more confusing if you don't have a transcendental belief system yet, because it doesn't make sense to someone that's only logical and objective in this world, that's holding only the physical bioreductive models of reality. It's going to be too overwhelming, and it's going to feel like your identity is being pulled apart from the inside because it doesn't make sense, and it's amplifying in speed, and I'm witnessing it everywhere. So it's like as if the universe is shifting, our perceptions are shifting, and we're being called to change our belief structures and systems so we can allow the new versions of healing that need to take place faster and faster. We've gotten away with it for a long time, and that's great, but now's the time. So the train's leaving, and so it's like there's going to be a squeeze it's going to feel like a squeeze on a lot of people to just like get on with it. Really come face to face with your own beliefs, your limitations. If it's not aligned with truth, then you will feel the friction of what that's like, to not adapt to something that's evolving, to an environment that's evolving to something closer to truth. If you're holding the old ideas, you will feel that burden and weight as confusion, distortions, angst, and friction with a lot of people. So it's like we have to just, as a collective, just keep talking about phenomena. So not start with the model first about what is ultimately true. Go back to the old version of science, which is look at the phenomenal things that are happening across many human beings and what's possible. That will then update our philosophies and belief systems accordingly. And we need a bit of courage and humility to go near that. And so that's where I think we're going. And people are feeling that squeeze. Yeah, you're right. They are getting that a lot. And that's why they're choosing more holistic modalities now, because they are having the humility to recognize that I don't know. That's the first humble statement, is that I don't know. I don't really know. But there is a part of me that does know. That's a good way to think about it. And so how
Yeah,
do I,
because if I look around at people, you can see people struggling. And then if you sit down with people, whether they're friends, family, or neighbors, or just acquaintances, and they tell you what they're struggling with, you can see it's their mind and the present reality is actually in the fight. Um, they're not trusting their soul, and they're not trusting their gut instinct. They're wanting to stay in the old construct of society, and they're in this internal conflict, and their bodies, because they're fighting it so much, you then see the body turning on and saying, no, you have to change. And so they're in physical pain, they're in inflammation, they're having reactions to processed food, because they're supposed to get on the train and evolve. And they're really fighting it. So I think more and more people are going to start to see their physical body talking to them, screaming at them, until their mental and spiritual body, until everyone decides to come on board together. So that's why I like to bring these things up, is so hopefully people can question their experience and be like, oh, well, maybe my feet hurt every night before I go to bed, not because of the shoes I'm wearing. Maybe there's something else going on. Maybe I'm having that stomach ache not because of what I'm eating for lunch. Maybe there's something else that's triggering that every day. Because it's not just food. It's not the way it used to be. There isn't simple explanations for everything, I think, but I don't know.
yeah, it's not as basic as, yeah, the objective stuff anymore. You're reminding me of particular client that was in a channel state, speaking from these, what they were saying, they watch over the earth as like an adolescent, and she has a spirit of her own, and you guys are just along the ride with her. But she's evolving. That's why you're experiencing evolution as well. It has nothing to do with you. Anyway, in that conversation, they were saying something about, you're curious, Boris, aren't you, as to why when you're doing hypnosis, that it's not the same as other hypnotherapists? Because I didn't choose to practice like past life stuff or spiritual stuff. It just happened, and it happens fast. And so they said, what happens is when you were born or when you were created, there was a clause placed in the brain here. They said something here. She pointed. And she said that when you speak from your heart authentically, your voice becomes an etheric instrument and it activates their heart. They called it the heart, or like this flame inside their center, which opens the third eye automatically. And I said, okay, is that dangerous though? The responsibility, I mean, we've had practices for a long time where you prepare for an awakening. The body, the mind, the psychology has to be prepared for such things. I said, people are having these with no practice, no prior belief systems, and they're having these profound experiences. Is it dangerous? I was cautious about the ethics around it. And they said, no. They said, well, it's like, it's not your responsibility in that moment. They said, there was a time for yoga of the body, and it's still important, but now is time for yoga of the mind. And so that means stretching the mind, pulling the mind, expanding the mind, folding the mind, collapsing the mind. All the things we play with yoga, body yoga, is now yoga of the mind. And so they said, now we're in an age of this where you don't have to prepare the body as much as you used to, because it's happening. So for an awaken, you don't have to prepare the dense biology because things are vibrating faster now. So it's like the preparations to have such awakenings aren't as necessary as it used to be. Yoga of the mind now, it's like you can use the increased vibration, the speed at which everything is moving, to have very easy sights and visions and perceptions through the veil. Extrasensory perception is turning on whether you like it or not. By your voice, it will turn it on in just directly. So they said what they do with it after is up to them. But you are here to activate it. It's perfectly fine. It is what it is. Don't think about it. Just get on with it, pretty much. What they choose to do with it after is entirely up to them. You can have, check-in sessions and things like that, to manage, but it's like, don't worry too much about the shock effect, meaning that you've done something wrong if they go into a bit of a bad state, because revelation of truth is never really meant to be comfortable. So it's like, just because someone's feeling bad or uncomfortable or, traumatized by something, it doesn't mean it's wrong. It's like, don't get caught up on good and evil again. It's like things are moving whether you like it or not. And it sounds pretty harsh. So it's like the mind is going to be forced to stretch whether they like it or not if you're coming closer to truth. And so it's like if you're involved in that process, great. Don't take it personally, pretty much.
I say this a lot, and I'm going to remind the listeners, I've said this before, but one of my teachers, her name's Lavendar, she's an astrologer, and she's the woman that coined the term starseed. She came up with the word back in 1980, 1981, because she noticed that every single astrological chart that she read for 2 years, every single one had a Pleiadian marking on it. And so she thought, wow, the stars are trying to seed a new type of people. This is crazy. Why is everyone for 2 years same markings on their astrological chart? So she named people with those markings star seeds from the Pleiades. And she always reminds me that the energy is changing on this planet. There's a major shift in evolution going on, and that the Pleiades are the ones that currently have the play on the planet. It's always changing, but right now the Pleiadians are in charge of this evolutionary period. And she always says, it's either you get on the bus now or you get on the bus later, but the bus is leaving. So you can either join now or join later, but it's going. Like, you're not going to have an option. Fight it all you want. But we're already heading in a new direction. And I love it when other people are tuned in, feel, see, and know that. Because the train has left the station. You can fight it all you want, but we are not going back to the simplistic, beautiful world that it was. We're not going there. We're going to something probably even more beautiful. We don't know what that's going to look like, but we need to get on the train, trust ourselves. And sometimes I feel like we need to have our blinders on, that we almost need to stay focused on our personal evolution, our communities, how we're supposed to evolve and support each other through this transition, instead of focusing on doom and gloom.
Yeah. Anything that
Can you talk to them about that? Kind of brings us back to what we started chatting about when we first connected. The consistent messages that come through for you when you're connecting with clients and how you wrap things up with them.
Yeah, and those messages are like, I think the messages are, pay attention to where creation emerges from. It's within you, meaning pay attention to the chemistry, and so your stories and thoughts that generate the chemistry that generate your outward creation. So if if you're trying to fight for what's right and wrong here, and you're finding yourself descending, because you're fighting for truth, but it's leading to more indifference, pay attention to that, because it's not aligned with the ultimate evolutionary success. It doesn't lead to what your souls come here to do anyway. Like the overall process is whatever leads to more freedom, movement. So don't pay attention to what you think is right here, logically, objectively, but then you fighting for it and doubling down on it is creating more separation, indifference, judgments, right and wrong, condemnation of another person or yourself. I'm a righteous person because I'm saying that I'm bad, like I did a bad thing and I deserve punishment. All like these are all creating frictions, fear. So it's like that's where we are being humbled by the messaging that I constantly get. And a great example of the messaging is in the Bhagavad Gita. If you're aware of that, that story from the Mahabharata in the Vedic system. But that allegory is like a humbling of the human mind, which thinks that spirituality is meant to look all shiny and nice and comfortable and good and light and angelic. No, God is everything at once, and it's light and dark. And so that's why I was mentioning that before, about, say, your honesty could destroy someone and you could be the villain in someone else's story. And that's okay, because the Bhagavad Gita is really about the willingness to kill, like the extremes, for the greater good. You have to read it to understand the context of what that means. But they use the extremes in the idea of the message, which is just get on with it. Like, don't get caught up too much on right and wrong, because this friction is placing judgment of good and bad parts on others and yourself. So that means you are split. If this part is bad and this part is good because I did that bad thing, we've all done some bad things that we regret and like we wish we didn't do because of what it may have caused the pain in someone else. But you don't have the higher knowledge or perspective to see the whole game. So for you to get caught up on the judgment of yourself or others as good and bad and right and wrong, ultimate in the way you're concluding it in an absolute statement wise, you don't have that level of awareness. So it's like, because you don't, it's like that means you don't fully understand the mechanisms that are playing themselves out. And that means be careful about placing too much value on your judgments of the self, right? Let go. And it's like, we wish sometimes these messages were more specific. Tell me what to do, how to do it. But it's like, no, it's abstract, it's general, it's let go, stop taking things too seriously. There's always a playfulness when these messages come through. My clients, like the Pleiadians that have come through, is like, they're quite playful. They laugh a lot. They laugh at our seriousness, is what I've experienced. I've felt like a bit of an idiot, actually, because when I'm entering, I used to enter these zones when I was beginning. It's like, oh man, like this is like some ghost stuff, there's some alien stuff going on here. I was a bit cautious about what the hell's going on here. So I came with my questioning, quite serious and like tentative, didn't want to rock the boat. I'm playing with a very sensitive, volatile state of the mind here. I don't know if I'm worthy of being here. So I had this creepy, like I'm creeping in here and I don't want to disrupt anything here. And it's as if every time I was caught out by these higher intelligence that they're just laughing at me, like without saying, it's like, what are you doing, man? Just like, relax, They would joke about something that I would ask, and I'd feel like a little child, like taking the world too seriously. And so for me to be this relaxed in it and know that it's not devil stuff and I'm okay with seeing the worst of the worst, is because of the humbling process of these messages that have come through, where you see a playfulness, you see a joy, you see don't take it seriously, almost a laughing at how I think this question's important, but it's actually insignificant. And my client thinks this question's important, which is why they wrote it down and brought it to me. Oh, Boris, I want to know the answer to this. And then they get laughed at by their own selves, and it's like, that's insignificant. That they would ask that question in a laughing way, they say. And they bring it back to this humbled humbled moment of just know, just whatever leads to your freedom, whatever leads to letting go, whatever leads to non-judgment, whatever leads to the acceptance of all that you are, is true in a spiritual truth. Why? Is because of what it does to the chemistry when I forgive, when I relinquish good and evil, what it does to my creative body. So your vessel that creates is now cleaner, in line with love. So it's like, it's not obvious. You know, it's not obvious based on social truths and morality, that it's good behavior, that is the right behavior. No, it's too low of a tier. There's something higher than that they laugh at how serious we take bad behavior, or that person really hurt me. When all I'm saying is to people listening, if you zoomed out far enough into that level of your own intelligence, not mine, not anyone else's, not some aliens, your own zooming out far enough, you will see the insignificance of your own trauma. And it sounds like you're minimizing it, but that's where it's got to. 7 years that I've done this, it's constantly an individual's own eventual realization of how insignificant the whole thing is.
For those listening that they're realizing, wow, I really want to have a hypnosis experience, a past life regression, what do they need to prepare? Is there any questions that they need to come with? Is there an agenda they need to come with? Or do we just show up?
It's more of a showing up. Why I'm going to say that is very important is because look how much seriousness we bring to ritualistic practices in spirituality. We overcomplicate it, and that's another message that came through multiple times, is the overcomplication. And we do that because we're anxious. We do it because we don't want to look like a fool. We want to be accepted by others. We want to make things grandiose because of self-righteousness and importance as well. So we dress up in certain things, make a certain way. We have rituals and we say, oh, don't touch this, don't disrespect. We make others then collaborate in those serious practices as well. And we dress it up in a story. They laugh at those practices. And I get it. I'm not disrespecting anyone's rituals and practices. They have significance only to the degree of what it brings out in the people involved. If it brings out a love and a connection and a statement that this place is clear, there is love here and it's true and it's embodied and there is something coming through me. I invite something to come through me that is true and loving. Those rituals are designed only to invoke and provoke that inner love and connection. How you do it doesn't matter, is what they constantly tell me. It doesn't matter. There is no right ritual. There's no wrong ritual. It's just, what do you have to do? And just, you have to do a cleansing ceremony after, Boris. You have to do this before you start. People in spiritual world always tell me what I should and shouldn't be doing after and before. And if I'm in joy and I'm in peace, and in the face of, let's say, a demon or an exorcism unfolding in front of me, which I have, if I'm sitting in a smile of knowing that I'm safe, that I'm good, and I feel that and I believe that, almost with a smile, and I see almost the innocence inside this person, and just an understanding of what the whole thing actually is. And it has no threat to me in this moment, and I know that. I'm not really impacted by it. I haven't felt into the severity of anything. So there's nothing in my body that is conducive for this entity to be attached to me. But if I have a fearful state and I'm protecting myself, calling out the rituals and the names and playing the game of exorcisms, and I got to do this big cleanup after, I get it. It's like, but check how much value you are giving the darkness in that moment, which is a reflection that there is a rejected dark part in you that you are still sensitive to, and it's being provoked here in a mirrored form in some way if you are humbled enough. But in that moment, if you know that you are safe, you are good, it's like, just be with it. So the ritualistic nature is not necessary. So sorry to make that a long story, that when someone comes to do a session with me, it's like, take the seriousness out of the ritualistic nature. Don't try to perform anything. Don't think that something has to happen. You're going in purely to just meet yourself. How it unfolds will be random. Curiosity, a childlike curiosity is all you need to bring, and a willingness to participate and a humility to know that you don't understand this world. And that submission is necessary. Humility, curiosity, submission. Not to me. It has nothing to do with me. My voice, or say the hypnotherapist, is purely a vehicle for you to outsource the safety and guidance and focus to bring you into yourself so you can meet yourself. That's all I'm there for. And so my languaging is kind of just to bring you to that state there. Preparation, no. Whatever has to happen will happen. Many people have weird dreams and nights, and things happen the night before the session, the day before the session. So things start organizing themselves accordingly. If you start coming with a thing that I need to prepare and it has to be perfect, many people come with that. There's too much anxiety around it. Just admit that you're scared about what you're about to experience, and that's okay, right? But there is no perfect way you have to turn up. Some people are like, oh no, I was supposed to have a perfect morning, but my kids did this, they acted out, and turns out I dropped them at school late, and I was supposed to be calm and relaxed before the session, Boris, and I think I should cancel. It's like, nah. You're not meant, if you're thinking that it's say you're meeting God. Let's say when you go deep inside, deep, you're meeting God. All right. You're not, do you think if God is an all-loving entity, would it expect you to dress the right way, act the right way, to be worthy of my presence? That ain't no God that I'm worshiping. It's an all-forgiving, all-accepting, all-loving energy. So all that you are in your messiness is perfect in that moment. So we have to remember that there is no perfect way. That's complete trust, faith. Just turn up. Have faith that whatever needs to happen will happen.
I just love learning about the work that you do, because all I hear is just peace and freedom.
Yeah.
So where can people continue to learn from you and get wisdom from you, and maybe connect with you and get on a wait list to have a session with you?
I think if you just want random content at the moment, the Instagram page, which I barely interact with, I should do more. That's just got random bits of videos and content you can just look at. And that usually inspires someone to be a bit more curious about themselves and the world and ask good questions and have good conversations with people around them. So if you just want thought-provoking ideas, just go on the Instagram. Boris Walter Official is my one. And but if you actually wanted to experience some time with me, I do allocate 1.5 days of my week for the general public, to just book a session. So that's boriswalter.com. And what happens is you just choose whether you want a 10-minute free call with me. I'm happy to do that. Or a 1 hour or a 3 hour session based on what you want to experience. It doesn't matter if you choose a 1 or 3 hour. It's not like this one's a past life, this one's something else. It's just the time, how deep you want to go, what kind of questions you want to explore. People have profound experiences in 1 hour. Some, need more than 5 hours. You never know. So just intuitively feel what's right and what's feasible, and just go with the 1 or the 3. Or if you need to chat, have a chat first. Yeah, and that's where you find me. I'm eventually going to release. It's coming. I'm going to release like a guided meditation library, almost like Audible, like audiobooks, but it'll be just like guided meditations. People keep asking, so I have been in the studio, and a guy called Craig Young, he's the composer that makes the music for Dr. Joe Dispenza's community. He's a Canadian guy, and so yeah, he's made the music, an amazing artist. So he's made the music, and I've gone in the studio and recorded some stories. So I might be reading stories to help people just even sleep. And some might be more guided meditations, but I'm going to have different categories based on what people want to experience with the voice. And yeah, that might be released probably, who knows? We're trying to get over the line maybe in the next couple months or so. And I'll let people know on my Instagram when I release that.
That's very exciting. Congratulations. And you do have the voice. What a blessing. It calms the nervous system.
I appreciate that, Whitney. Yeah. Thank you.
And I would love it if you could maybe leave the listener with one last health, wellness, or meditative tip that they can consider adding into their life.
Yeah, okay. All right. This is what's coming to me now. What I'm about to say, I think you could probably use this as a meditation. So even if you had this section that's about to happen, I'm just going to speak about what I've ultimately learned about the universe and how it's structured. So, like, we're talking about the ultimate universal pattern, about how this universe works. And it often leaves people pretty humbled in a zoomed out feeling, making your personal issues and conflicts going on now seem smaller, which is helpful. And so this might be a little sound bite that people can use as a meditation as well. But I'd like people to just realize that if they're trying to learn about the simplistic nature of this world, just imagine that your universe that you're in is no different to a breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, just constant flow. And the expansion of the universe is that inhale, right? And so when we're talking about what is the thing that starts that breathing cycle off is what we call the one thing. Let's call it God. And so God, or this light, this singularity, the one thing, it's an idea. It holds an idea. So if we understand that all things are mental, this is what they mean. When Plato was talking about idealism as the most fundamental truth, consciousness is primary, then the physical world emerges from the consciousness, right? That's what we're learning about spirituality. It's trying to tell us almost the same first line of the Bible, that in the beginning there was the Word. It's no different, I think, to realizing Plato was saying that in the beginning there is an idea, right? And so that one thing has an idea, and the idea is, who am I? What am I? And so it splits itself off like a cell division. Wow, that's what I am. I wonder what that dynamic looks like, those two parts looking at each other. Boom, splits off again. Wow, I wonder what that plane looks like, splits off again in all dimensions. Boom, and then it goes, and the entire universe is created in one breath, one big inhale. I wonder what I am. And all possibilities, all timelines, all vantage points. You, Whitney, me, Boris, two different vantage points of the one inhale, asking the same question. Who am I? What am I? And we're navigating it in our own individual way. And so it all then collapses back on the exhale, where all the information that anyone has ever gained from all vantage points come back to the mind. That's who I am. Whoa. I wonder what else I am. And we expand into creation again, and it collapses again. And this ebb and flow is an infinite breath that we seem to witness. Expansion, contraction of a universe, the inhale, exhale of a breath, the death, birth cycle, the yin and the yang, the being and doing, forward and backwards. Everything is this flow, right? And so it's just recognizing that if you are going to meditate, when you breathe, I would say just remember that every expansion of a breath is like the creation of a universe, and the exhale is a contraction of a universe, and everything is done. Everything that ever has been is done. It's created. Everything is important. Everything is cool. Everything is colorful. Everything is real and visceral. The stories, the masks we wear, and then it collapses. It all ends. Only your mind gets caught up on the seriousness of all the stories, all the trauma, all the things that have happened to me. And it's like, but any chance you get, just remember to let go in any breath. Every breath is a chance for you to just let go of something and choose to be in an optimal state that is conducive for more love and freedom in your life. So see if you can honor that, to really believe that in my breath, I can actually just choose something that is more loving, more freeing for myself, and see what happens.
I mean, I love that. There's no better way to end a conversation than being reminded that you get to choose to have more love and freedom within every breath you take in your day. So thank you. I really appreciate it. Such a blessing to connect with you. I just really love the work that you do, and really impressed by how you're supporting people all over the world. Like, what a beautiful time that we live in. that we can support each other no matter where we are. Um, yeah, and keep up the good work. I can't wait to see uh, what else you birth.
Yeah, thank you. I will put myself out there a bit more with talking and engaging with podcasts, I think a bit more now, just so we can talk. I think communication is pretty important at the moment to just help people in different pockets of the world realize that they're not alone and the things that they're going through that are weird and crazy and what used to be crucified as witches is actually a normal part of existence. It's not devil work, it's not demon stuff. You're allowed to be a bit wild, and that's okay. There's a place for you in some way. Um, and so, yeah, communication and things like what you're doing here is allowing that. So I think if this reaches someone new, you've done your work, Whitney. You've helped someone feel like they belong more than they did before. So thank you for reaching out and giving me a platform.
Yeah, actually, I do want to say because I so enjoyed listening to podcast episodes that you've been on. I would love for you to consider to create your own podcast where you share some of the stories from your past life regressions because you shared a really great story about a person who went back to the house that they lived in a past life. Do you remember what I was talking? You
Oh,
remember
yeah.
that?
Yeah, Gwen
Yeah.
McDonald. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was so interesting because my mom had that experience. We went on a family vacation to South Africa, and my mom had always wanted to go to South Africa. And I knew she had had a past life there. And my dad rents a house before Airbnb existed. So he found some website to be able to book a house in Cape Town. It wasn't easy at the time. We get there. My mom sounds outside the house in shock because she knows this is the house she grew up in as a little girl in a past life. Years go by and we start talking about that. And I say to her, "Hey, that house in South Africa, was your name Sarah? And did you have brown hair? And did you always wear it in braids?" And she was like, "Yeah." She was like, "What made you think of that?" And I was like, "I don't know. I think we need to look it up on the census. Let's look up that house on the census and see if there was a little girl named Sarah living there in the 1890s." And there was. I just think that stuff is so much fun and it soothes the soul and the heart. I've just watched with my own family members and friends when they have those positive experiences. Yeah, it just brings light into them. So I loved that you shared that story. It made me happy. It lit me up. Uh, I think it's doing that for others. Keep sharing them.
No, I think that's beautiful. I think the excitement of that is what we need to have because it's showing us that the magic is real, that we're more than what we thought we were, and we're allowed to be excited
Yes,
by that. Um,
yes. I
yeah,
think it's beauty. It shows the magic of this experience and that we could have more magic in our life if we invited it.
yeah, yeah. And then when that excitement starts to settle, then what we'll do is we can then have conversations. When enough people are excited by that we're more than what we thought we were, then we can have better conversations. Okay, well, what do we do about that? What type of therapies should we adapt around that? Why am I feeling like this about this house here? Feeling like Sarah's here and I'm feeling all the things. Why are those timelines converging right now? Is it just random chance? Why is the veil thin right now? Why do I have to be aware of this? So here's where deeper philosophical conversations will emerge from, which will then update our modalities. Yeah.
Yeah. For another conversation, Boris, for another conversation, I will have you back and we'll dive into that because those are the questions we need to be asking. Why are they coming up? And what do we need to know about these timeline convergences in order to continue to create peace on earth?
The conversation, then I'll be happy to have a chat with you. And if you wanted to, I'd be happy to help you out if you wanted to feel what it's like to be guided by me as well. I'd be open.
Yeah, absolutely. I will be messaging you later today. So we'll chat again soon.